What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. We are back. Blades Ramble, now also known as the Chris Wilder fan channel. There's no secret about that. My colours have been nailed to the mast for some time. I think what a performance. What a massive improvement it was. I can't tell you. To be honest, I've never been as happy with a performance in defeat in as long as I can remember, because we never want to lose. This is ultimately, we need points on the board now. But if anything pointed towards a positive change, this was it. And I thought right from the get-go, we were at them straight away. This will not be a long video tonight. I don't plan on keeping you around for long. But I just had to jump on and let you know how I'm feeling. It was too late by the time we got back last night. So this is going to double up as a bit of a what you think went well against Liverpool, what we could work on to do a little bit better, and also a bit of a Brentford preview as well. And when I say Brentford preview, we won't be breaking down Brentford or anything like that. We'll just be getting ready and excited for the game. So that's my plan. I think we all predicted some were upset that the team appeared to be leaked before kickoff. And I understand that in terms of people being, frustrated that you don't want to be giving away tactics and you don't want to be letting them know what we're going to be doing. And who knows whether it was going to be the accurate team or not at that stage. It can't keep happening, I don't think. But even when you saw the team, you didn't know what formation we're going to be or anything like that. The team came out and there were a few surprises in there. No Norwood, no Fleck. Can't remember what the person he dropped, but it was not only was it a change of personnel and the surprising inclusion of Andre Brooks, it was a change of formation. We all thought it'd be 3-5-2. I thought Andre Brooks would move out to left wing back and we'd stick with the same formation that the club's been built on for the last 5-6 years. Well, since 2016. So it'd be 8 years now, nearly. So we went. Well, I've seen people describe it differently. I've seen a 4-3-3 mentioned an awful lot. I think it was the heralded Christmas tree formation. Now, if you don't know what I mean, because again, I said this doubles up as a Brentford preview. I'm going to ask you what your team is, but I'm not going to make a big thing of it because my team is exactly the same as the team he played. And we call it the Christmas tree because I think it was this. I think it were a 4-3-2-1. And that if they call it the Christmas tree, you tilt it on its side, it looks like a Christmas tree. And I think this is the team that'll hopefully go with again if everybody's fit, because the one thing that stood out to me was the squad depth is, we knew this anyway, but the squad depth is an issue. I think you could see the quality that Liverpool, talk about levels, they are several levels above us. But you saw the quality that they were able to bring on Darwin Núñez and Harvey Elliott. And we're bringing on John Fleck and Ollie Norwood and Benny Traore. It's night and day, isn't it? I was surprised to see John Fleck come on, if I'm honest. It does look slightly off the pace. He's going to do. He's been out injured for a long time. I'm not sure John Fleck can hang in the Premier League currently. I appreciate he wants to go with the old head that he trusts. Understand that completely. I don't know what Anis Slimani's got to do to get a chance. Hopefully that comes later under Wilder as he gets to know the squad a little bit more. But I could go through every player and tell you, I don't think any of that, certainly the first 11 who started the game, I don't think there were a bad game amongst them. I thought Wes did very well when called upon. I thought a couple of his saves that everybody were like, what a brilliant save. I think a couple were standard and straight at him, but there were a couple where I thought he did really well. And I can't say any others. So fair play to Wes, who did about as well as I thought he could have done. It was noticeable that he wasn't dallying in his box. There was one occasion where he got chased down and took a poor touch and almost lost possession, which were a little bit hairy. But ultimately, it was just kicking along, which I know we've talked about. We don't want to be going long. We had a Sula up there as a bit of a target man. But when he's kicking it out in terms of rather than rolling it to centre halves, who will then invite the pressure, I understand why we did that, even if I don't always agree with it. I thought Jayden Bogle had his best game, not just this season, in years. I can't remember the last time I saw Jayden Bogle play so well, particularly as a traditional right back in a back four. I thought he were absolutely superb. Did really, really well. as did his counterpart, Austin Trusty, as left back. Really, really strong game for Austin Trusty. I could make a claim for either of those men being man at match just because of how well they played. Jack Robinson didn't really put a foot wrong. A superbly timed slide challenge at one stage. I thought Anel looked better than he has done this season, but I thought if we're giving out strong grades, he's probably a 7 for me. I think he was, you don't want to say one of the worst performers because he was the worst of a good bunch, if that makes sense. So I thought he had an okay game, did Anel, looked fairly steady, but I still don't think he's reached the same levels yet. There's a little bit of talk about him with the armband, that he's not worn a rainbow armband. And to be honest, I don't want to go anywhere near them sort of conversations because we want to show respect to everybody. And my hope is that wasn't done intentionally. Chris Wilder certainly came out and said it wasn't the intent. We're obviously allies of the Rainbow Blades, so we don't want anybody that's not in line with their beliefs as well. So that's just my personal opinion, and you'll have your own. I thought moving into midfield, Vinny Souza had his best game in a Blades shirt. Looked really. I thought he looked slightly off the pace a little bit in the first half, and by that I mean I think he switched off a couple of times. But the effort and endeavour, there was a certain bit where I remember, I think it was Nunes who were chasing down in second half, chasing him down the line, and he slid in and he scooped the ball out of play to stop an attack. And just that's what we want. We want him to be that destroyer in the middle who screens the defence, breaks up play, and gives it easy. And I thought he was really good in that position. Gus Hamer was getting a lot more of the ball in terms of progressing the ball forward for us. That has got to be his gift in this side. We've got to be getting the ball easy. Vinny Souza winning it easily, or winning it and giving it easy to Gus Hamer, who can then do something with it. Thought he put in a couple of decent set pieces as well. I think Andre Brooks, who for me just pips Trusty and Bogle to the man of the match. What an absolute beast of a debut that was. His first start, I know he's played for the Blades before, but his first Premier League start, 18-year-old, I think. He might be 19 now. Could even be 20. I'm not even bothered, to be honest. I just think he's absolutely unreal. And to have been sleeping on a player like that, who's got bags of energy, gave everything. Me and Sal were at game with me last night, and there were a point where Archer camped at corner at box, and he was struggling, and Brooks just took it off his feet, really. And it just showed the confidence that he's got, even at that young age. He is now well in the mix. And I don't want to see him lose his shirt. As I've said, that was my team earlier. I think we played the same team going into Brentford. McAtee, I thought him and Archer playing in the sort of 2 10s, if you like, just tucked inside a little bit, but then going wide out of possession, making it a little bit more of a 4-5-1. I like McAtee in that whole area to the right-hand side. I think if we'd have got him, he obviously caused a lot of problems. Wilder were very keen on saying it should have been a penalty when, what's his name, Canate, is it? Somebody pushed him over in box. I could take that. I can see why it wasn't given, if I'm honest also. Archer, I thought played really, really well. You know how much I love Cameron Archer. I still think he's more valuable to us higher up the pitch, although running at the defenders, he still did a superb job. I don't like him as deep. That's just my personal opinion. I think he's more dangerous on the shoulder of the last man. When Asula came off, I was really surprised to see Benny Traore at the point of the attack. I would have switched him around. I would have had Traore as the deeper of the strikers and moving into the place where Archer was, and I'd have had Archer at the point of the attack because he's just an absolute lethal finisher. Although I do take everybody's point that he should have smashed that with his left foot when he got through on goal. I wonder if that's a confidence thing, but I hope not, because he is the most naturally gifted finisher we've got at the club. For me, he's up there in terms of the skill level and sort of ability in terms of finishing. I think he's Billy Sharp-esque in the way he plays. So really, really rated Cameron Archer. As you know, I thought Will Asula had a very good game in terms of battling away against one of the best defenders in Europe, to be honest, Virgil van Dijk, who he got the better of him on a couple of occasions, but very difficult being up there leading the line on your own. He were well supported by Archer and McAtee, but I thought he did a really good job in terms of just holding the ball up, giving easy, and then just causing him some problems for most of the game. A couple of touches went astray, but I think the problem with us at the moment, as we know, is the depth. So we looking at the bench, we had 3 left wing backs on the bench. And I met one of our Ramblers in pub. I met a few of our Ramblers in pub beforehand, but I was talking to Dave Leary, and he was saying, why have we got the bench looks so poor, and we only had really Traore as a striking option, which don't fill you with loads of confidence. Although I still think he could be a good player for us. Why have we got 3 left wing backs? We're not going to bring them all on. Where's Ryan One? That's the only. These are very minor criticisms, but I think once Wilder gets a bit more time to get his head around exactly where he's got to work with, then maybe that might be an option. As we are weak at the moment, obviously McBurney comes back into the side. Asula probably drops to the bench. That makes your bench a lot stronger than it was last night. So there's loads of positives to take, loads and loads, and it just felt like Sheffield United again. We were beaten by a better team. I get the gripes about, certainly the McAtee potential penalty. I can see why it wasn't given. Sorry, Sir Chris, you are the Messiah to me, but I can see why it wasn't given. What I can't see is how Nunes gets away with going straight through the back of Jayden Bogle, scissoring him and taking him down. Could have been a leg breaker, and then rolls his foot along the ball and takes it while we're up the pitch because Jayden Bogle had just broken with it. That 1-0 you can take on chin, can't you? But it shouldn't have been allowed. It were a blatant foul. Wilder afterwards, in classic style, appreciated the reception, spoke well about the fans as he would do, but also quite poignantly said he's aware that not everybody's bought into his return yet, and he's still got a lot of work to do to win back the fans' trust. And I love that humble side of him. He again thanks Prince Abdullah, which he's done in almost every interview I think I've heard him in, and trust me, I've heard every interview he's done. So absolutely superb. Like I say, it feels like we're back on it. I'm not saying that we're definitely going to survive, because it's a huge, huge ask. And Bournemouth won again last night. Everybody's pulling further away from us. Forest look like they might be the team that start to drop points and are on a bad run. But even now they're on about sacking Steve Cooper, which I think is absolutely balmy, by the way. But yeah, they are a long way off. There is a lot of work to do, but it can start this weekend. It can start this weekend against Brentford, because Brentford had a poor result. They lost at Brighton. Brighton's a tough place to go, but they lost. They're coming off a loss. They also lost Brian Mbeumo, who's one of his better players. He's been playing well this season, and he's, unfortunately for them, gone down injured and won't be involved at all. He may be out for some time. So I'm more confident. If we play like we did last night against Brentford, I'm confident we can take something from this game. And not just something, I think we could take the points. I cannot wait for the first goal at Bramall Lane to go in now that the atmosphere is back. Listen, I didn't think it were absolutely at its peak last night. I think it'll take a little bit of time to warm up. But I think potentially on Saturday, if the ball hits the back of the net, it will erupt. And again, I can't believe how excited I was. And still, I just still felt happy with the team, even in defeat. Obviously, we want the points, like we've said, but I'm going to jump into your comments now. Let me know what you think. As I say, we won't be on long tonight, so I'm just going to whiz through what I can. I'm going to let you go. But Bryce starts us off and says, oh, what does he say? Because it's not letting me see. Hi, Jimmy. Just wondered if we'd be better switching Maka and Archer around. Archer being primarily right-footed and Maka left-footed. Both had chances on the wrong foot. Good point, Bry. I understand that thought process, and you can look at it two ways, can't you? Because if they're higher up, than to cut inside onto their weaker foot, it's going to be more beneficial to be on the wrong side. So if Archer's closer to the byline and he cuts back inside, it's easier for him to take a shot on his right foot. If they are going to cut inside earlier, and you're coming in from like the corner of the box, then it's easier to strike with your stronger foot across the goal if you're on your better side. So there's pros and cons to both. I think if they're going to sit deep as 10s like they were rather than wingers, then you're probably right. I would switch him over so they're on the stronger side. But Archer can finish with his left, which is why we're disappointed when he didn't pull the trigger, because I think it was the only thing he could potentially be criticised for the night, and that's just one thing. Come on, Jimmy, I've been waiting all day for this. Sorry, mate, as I say, it's not going to be a huge one tonight because I'm conscious we're busy, aren't we? We're sort of, you've seen a lot on my face recently, and I'm trying not to be too smug about Wilder, but I'm just happy about it. So sorry if you think it's coming off a different way, and I've seen some people have another little pop at me online, and that's fine. And if it gets too much, I'll just get rid of you. But I can't hide how I'm feeling, nor do I feel like I should have to. However happy I am about Wilder, I shouldn't always have to feel bad that I'm upsetting a Hecky supporter somewhere, because it's not about Hecky. It's not for me. It's not like Hecky was crap. I don't want anything to do with Hecky and Wilder's the best. It's more just Wilder's the best for me. Hecky did a great job for us. I think this was him being out of his depth a little bit at this level, and that's nothing against him as a person. I think he's a very clever man, very intelligent man. I've said I don't know many better that's working with that there are that work with youth teams, but Wilder for me and our club just go together, and hope he gets it, doesn't he? He gets it completely, and not everybody's on side yet, and I understand that, but I back him 100% to get everybody back on side. And if they're not, then they're not going to come with us, are they, as a club? And that's up to them as an individual. Man Mountain says the energy the younger players played with, the sinking of the press, playing without fear, engagement higher up the pitch, absolutely spot on. What you need against an elite team, very unlucky. I agree. I thought we were better in every department. Mr. V, good evening, pal. Such a big improvement in attitude by all the players, especially the defence, where Trusty Robinson and Anel were solid. The long throws caused problems, and McAteer, Sula and Brooks were good. Archer, so. I'll let you have that, pal. Yeah, that were another difference, weren't it? Just a slight tweak, but Wilder calling Robinson over to right-hand side to do long throws either side. Why not? If we've got a weapon in our arsenal that we can use it. So both sides now get the long throw treatment. Or they certainly did on Wednesday night. Evening, Jimmy. I have to say, I've never been more excited for a game as a Sheffield United fan. The atmosphere was electric, and I thought Andre Brooks was absolutely outstanding. Team fought well too. Well said, Sam. Completely agree, pal. Tons better than we've seen for the majority of the season, says Bryson. Brooks was great. Vinny, tons better. Atmosphere back to normal. And CW only had a day to prepare. The future's bright, in my opinion, up the blades. Absolutely right, pal. Dean says Andre Brooks is some talent, got to be a regular starter. I didn't want Wilder back, but hands up, that was different gravy. Well done, Blades. And listen, you don't have, there's no apologies or hands up or anything like this that we have. We all have opinions and we're all entitled to them. And it's on you if you want to say that. And I appreciate the honest shout, but I don't think anybody needs to be like, oh, I were wrong about this, or I must say on all this stuff. As long as we're enjoying it again, that's all that matters, isn't it? It's not a case of, haha, we were right, you were wrong, whatever it might be. Because it might, we might lose next 10 games, but for now, let's just enjoy it. Haley, good evening, pal. Best match I've been to all season. Atmosphere were buzzing. Thought we played with a bit of grit. And as for Andre Brooks, he had a great game. Can't believe difference in one game. Me neither, pal. I mean, it just shows, though, doesn't it? It just shows, Haley, what we've been saying all along. And I loved what Wilder said afterwards. He was like, I've told him in there, this better not be a one-off. I don't want it to be a one-off performance with a bounce for a new manager. These are the standards. This is what we live up to. And that's what we want, because we've been saying for ages, a lot of us have been saying, not just me, loads of us have been saying, there's more to come from this team. I don't think we're the 20th worst team in this league. I think I've said it all season, and a lot of people have said it too. Our best 11, which wasn't last night, by the way, because there's so many injuries still out, but our best 11, and I think judging on last night, the side that we put out can compete at this level. That don't mean we're going to be a mid-table side with this starting 11. That means we've every chance of finishing 15th. If we start on an even keel now, we're starting well behind. So the odds are much greater that we're going to finish in 17th, which is clearly the aim. But the players are good enough. The players are good enough, which they finally started to show last night when we put square pegs in square holes. It's not rocket science, is it? And Wilder has given them that belief back. Loved it. Andy says, after yesterday, I was the happiest I've ever been losing 2-0, even though it could so easily have been a different story. Absolutely right, mate. Completely agree. Wonder who's the next best paid at Liverpool after the referee, by the way. He was shocking, weren't he? Absolutely shocking referee. And to be fair, there were a point where I thought Liverpool could have had a penalty as well. So I don't think the result, in terms of them, I think they were better than us, is probably the best way to put it. I think 1-0 would probably have been a fair result, but we gave absolutely everything. I don't think we could. That ref were just appalling. I felt the crowd back on the pitch as the 12th player last night too. That was the best part. It was great to hear the crowd vocal again. I loved the singing along with the Wilder songs and everything that goes with it. I still think we can bring it up a couple of levels, if I'm honest. We've heard it louder, and I get it. We're bottom at league, but hopefully after that performance, we can show how even better we can be to support them. After that 24 hours or so in the job, 4-5-1, I thought it was a bit mind-blowing. Yeah, all that after that, just 24 hours in job. Absolutely, mate. Evening, Kev. Great to see Wilder back, but the star of the show was Brooks. Been banging the Ramblers all season. He needs to start. Great talent. Yep, Kev, you've been on the Brooks train. I'll give you credit for that, pal. Absolutely right. Me, myself, and Hamer time. Not to over-exaggerate, but Brooks is the best footballer that has ever lived. VAR obviously had a day off, but it's the usual one set of rules for us, a different set for the big six. It's just really poor, isn't it? It's really poor. Evening, Jimmy. Good evening, Bram. Much better performance yesterday. Wilder managed to get Mousse scoring goals, so imagine what he can do with Archer. Oh, Asula, Brooks, and Hamer. Chrissy Wilder, he's one of our. He certainly is. Evening, James. What a transformation. Passion fighting until the end, but must say VAR was protecting Cooper after his debacle at Man City. Oh, yes. Simon Hooper, you mean, I think, the ref. Yeah, I think there were a bit of that. They weren't getting involved to overturn anything, were they? And they should have done for both goals, apparently. Although first one, again, touch and go. Enjoyed that last night, says Rich. Looking forward to coming to the coming games. Thanks for the ramble. Thank you for joining me, pal. It's very much appreciated. It's nice to be able to be smiling and happy about the Blades again, despite us being bottom of the table. And it might only last a little while because the results may dip again and we might again fall into a bit of a, oh, this isn't great and blah, blah, blah. So why not enjoy it while we can? Because the other side of the coin is we might go and get 3 points on Saturday. And I think we can. Of course, I think we can. That's more like it, says Jeff. Playing Brooks was inspiring. Absolutely right, it was. I wouldn't be totally shocked to see Ollie Arblaster come back in January, you know, because Brooks has been head and shoulders. I don't think we should be chucking too many young lads in, but Arblaster's been playing really well out at Port Vale, and I know the levels are night and day, but Brooks has not played at any level, really, other than Premier League and bit part in Championship, and they were always on a similar level as each other, I thought. So, and centre midfield, I think we're quite weak to a degree in terms of depth. Don't be surprised to see Blaster come back. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, by the way. I think he could benefit from a year out, but a year out on loan. Andrew, cheers, Jimmy. Totally agree with you. My sentiments, yes, we lost, but not displeased. Not down or negative. I feel okay about it. I'm excited and looking forward to Saturday. Cannot wait till Saturday. Can't wait till Saturday because I'm at the game. I'm taking my daughter to football in the morning. She's got her football match. Then I'm dropping her off at my sister-in-law's and I'm going to the game. The wife is out on a Christmas do. So after the game, I'm at home on my own with a takeaway and hopefully watching Match of the Day for the first time all season because the Blades have won. Unbelievable. It doesn't get better than that, does it? House to myself. House to myself. Evening, Jimmy. Don't want to lose, but what a change last night. Great effort from them. Just hope we keep it up. Absolutely right, pal. Vinny stepped up, says Sarah. He certainly did. There've been a lot of doubters. And to be honest, I too joined that sort of, he is not really doing it for me, Vinny Souza. And to be fair to Eki, he was a player that Eki pointed out from day dot. He's still got a long way to go to certainly prove himself to us and justify the price we paid for him. But it was a good start yesterday. It felt like a reset for so many of them, didn't it? Doug, massive difference last night, like the four at the back. But how many runs did Archer make and turn back? Just bleeding shoot. Jesus, talk about wind you up. Yeah, I agree. It was frustrating. And it's frustrating to know because we know what he can do. He did it against us. Somebody posted a clip on Twitter about the goal he scored for Middlesbrough, where he came into the box at the same sort of angle, shot with his left foot, scored. It was past Wes, but listen, that's just my personal vendetta. But you're right. He's got the ability, and it was frustrating because he's got the ability. But I still think he had a great game in terms of showing us a different side to his game last night. Asula was great too, really caused problems for the defenders. Yeah, he did. Did a lot of the things that aren't easily seen, didn't he? Great performance. We still didn't test their keeper much. We didn't, and I thought they controlled possession quite well. But it could have been so different, couldn't it? Those sort of games, when you know that the opposition's levels above you, you have to take those chances. Like those 2 breaks we had in first half, those were the times to score, weren't they? So, and when you don't take those chances, you know they're going to be few and far between. Neil, the biggest thing, Jimmy, was how small we are as a team. So the long balls up front, just no play up to feet. And yes, if everybody's fit, we go with the same. Absolutely right. I agree. I think we were laughing before kickoff because you looked at the 2 sides when they're each in their huddle, and they looked like monsters compared to us. And they always looked a threat from things like corners, although I thought for the vast majority, obviously they scored from a corner, but the vast majority of corners I thought we defended really well. I even thought our shorter players, like particularly Gus Eben, stood out to me in terms of being stuck in and getting involved, and he got his head to an awful lot of things. But if we are going to strengthen in January, you've got to focus on bringing a little bit of size into the side, I think, because it's noticeable that we're quite a small side at the moment, particularly up front, without McBurney. Night and day, says Johnny. Good evening, pal. Fire and desire, a clear plan and some actual direction on a game-specific basis, rather than one-size-fits-all system. Absolutely right, pal. It was a game plan to fit Liverpool. Who'd have thought it? How simple is that? He talked about it. We wanted Trusty to keep Salah quiet. That's what he said after the game, Wilder. Did anybody notice Mo Salah cause any problem? Listen, I know he had a volley that he skied over bar at one stage. Other than that, did anybody notice Mo Salah, one of the best strikers on the planet? I didn't. He's still in Austin Trusty's back pocket, that's why. Vicious Susan was incredible that second half. I thought same, pal. Second half, we were much better. First half, a little bit. Lost his concentration a touch, but still played well. Best game I've seen from him. Tony Royal says, I tell you what, Jimmy, that knows I'm very sceptical of CW, but he's got my back in. One training session, and we played amazingly. Time to smash Brentford on Saturday. Listen, word of caution, T-Dog. You're right. In terms of the optimism is there, and I think the confidence will be, even in defeat, will still be with the players. Brentford will not be an easy game. There's no easy games at this level, and that's very cliche. But we saw things like when Bournemouth are coming to town, a lot of us are sort of already saying we're going to take these points, even though you were in charge at that stage. When we go to Burnley, nobody thought they'd do us 5, and there's mitigating factors. But every side at Premier League level have got game changers, and I think Brentford, we've got to, and we will take him seriously under Wilder. I've no doubt about it, but it's certainly not a given. We're going to have to work hard, but I genuinely think, having said all of that we can take the 3 points. Canate should have collected about 7 suspensions with the yellows he should have had. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. We had our chances. We need to take them. So, I'm pleased, even though we lost. I agree with you with what you have said. Thank you, pal. Danny says, thought Brooks and Asula deserved to start next game. Both played really well last night. Nice to see homegrown players doing well at our club. No room for Norwood and Fleck now. Bye-bye, I'm afraid, Jimmy. I think it's harsh on Norwood, but when he came on, was I excited by it? No. John Fleck, I think, has had his day, unfortunately. I don't like saying it because, and in terms of Brooks and Asula starting the next game, absolutely, and I think they will. You can't drop either of them really after that performance. Even if McBurney were available, I think you've got to keep Asula inside for the strength of the performance and bring McBurney back in during the game. McBurney's not available because it's his second red, so it's a 2-game ban, unfortunately, for those that weren't aware. Robbo was my man of the match, says Rich. He's been player of the season so far. I don't think many would argue. I actually needed to use the left foot more. I know he does. But I don't think many would argue with that Robbo shout for player of the season so far. It's best of a bad bunch to date, though, hasn't it? Brooks was giving me similar look to Morgan Gibbs White with the way he wanted to beat players and run with it. Oh, that is That is some company, that. I know he's a questionable figure nowadays, but some player, MGW. Ryan Oney on the bench instead of Fleck for me. I want Oney on the bench. Listen, I'm not saying he's ready. We've only seen him in very little flashes, and we hear updates and stuff like that. I don't think anybody can honestly say they've seen an awful lot of him. So I don't know. I'm only buying into the hype around him to a degree. So it's not really an educated opinion, this. But I just think when you've 3 left wing backs on the bench who can't really play in any other position. I know Larouci could potentially play as a winger, maybe, if you wanted to go to that sort of system. But drop Luke Thomas. Drop Luke Thomas front bench. Send him back to Leicester. Let's be right. It hasn't worked. I like Luke Thomas. I wanted to give him a chance, but he's just got worse with every performance, unfortunately. And I think we can do an awful lot more with that that loan spot. Somebody was suggesting today that Amad Diallo's back in training with Man U now. He's got a little bit of an Illiman vibe about him, Auntie, I think. Do you think he would be a better addition to the squad now that we're playing this sort of attacking flair? More on that in a future video, I would think. Got to break the youth in now, Jimmy. I'll send him to the likes of Rotherham to get a game. It's always Rotherham, innit? Send him to Rotherham. Get Jebison out to Rotherham. I know what you're saying, though. Asula on loan to Rotherham. If we do go down, they'll need to be used week to week, week in, week out, and already broke into the league, so experienced. And I agree. I think we should be utilising the loan market more. You look at somebody like an Ollie Arblaster, who's gone and already got 20 games under his belt, making great strides. He's the cog in that Port Vale team. And listen, Port Vale aren't a huge club, but to be the big fish at any level is impressive and be pulling the strings. They're the sort of players that we used to go looking for, the best players in each team, isn't it? And pluck them out and put them in our side. So to send one of our players out, Harry Boyes is currently at Wickham, all these sort of things is bringing them on a little bit more. I think utilising the loan market, Danny, you're absolutely right. If we're not going to use them for the first team, get them out on loan, get them playing games in the EFL rather than these National League loans. Can't wait for Saturday. Should be a win. Should. Hopefully a win. That's what we're going with. We look like the same team that finished 9th. Don't want to speak too early, but we look superb. That is going a bit early, pal, to be honest. I would say we looked second best, despite the huge upturn in effort levels. I think we did a lot of things right, but we were just beaten by a better team. If we give that sort of effort and endeavour in every game this season, we will certainly go a lot better than we have been doing. And we've just got to hope that we're better than 3 other teams. 23 games to go now. You know, there's still plenty of time. Still plenty of time. Disagree with McBurney coming back in for Asula. Yeah, I do too. Wilder emphasised quick counter break against Liverpool. For me, McBurney slows us down too much. I won't disagree necessarily. I think Wilder will bring McBurney in. He's talked about him being an important player for us. He's already said in the build-up to the game that it were a huge loss that he wasn't available for him, a big player for us, he kept saying. And he is. McBurney's a big player, big character. It's on Asula to keep his shirt now. McBurney's not going to come back in this game because he's suspended, but like I was saying, I think he'll probably try and bleed McBurney back in. Asula should be working to start the following games at Chelsea. He should be playing well at Brentford, trying to get in the side for the Chelsea game, and then McBurney probably replaces him around 60 minutes, and then they're battling it out, aren't they? That's what we want, competition. McBurney should start on the bench. Come on if we're winning. Gives us that defensive cover from corners. If we're winning, it doesn't happen a lot, does it, at the minute? Play around it. Hi, Jimmy. I'm a bit late to the live, but what do we think of Sousa after this game? I thought he played really well, pal. Really well, particularly second half. Jimmy Keith Hackett's view was Nunes' tackle was a foul. I'm not surprised. I think everybody's view, apart from Simon Hooper and VAR, was it was a foul. Do we know who VAR was? Because that'd be interesting to know. Andre Brooks didn't look out of place one bit. Excited to team in the future. Brooks will tear you apart again. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Referee was pathetic last night, says Eamon. We should have had a penalty. We should. I thought they should have. I could go back and forth on our penalty claim. I thought they were unlucky not to have a penalty. I thought their second goal were a joke. Absolute joke. I think there's going to be a lot of movement in January, especially loans brought in. I think Thomas will go back as well as Larouci. Fleck, Defo and Norwood maybe free up space in the squad for newbies. I completely agree. I think there will be a lot more movement than we think, but I think it'll be more, for want of a better phrase, wheeler dealing. I think it'll be that sort of January, and I'd be happy with that. I think we need to be planning for the future, whether that's, I think we need to be making smart purchases, and I don't want to spoil any upcoming videos, and people have already mentioned it online today. I've seen that Joe Worrell's been bombed out of the Forest squad made to train with the kids. Now, if that's not for an attitude issue, I think we should be all over that. I know people have been, Forest fans have laughed at me previously. I go on a podcast with other Forest fans and they've laughed at me for that and they would drive him here. But we've heard that before. We heard Egan were useless. We heard Jack O'Connor were useless. I think Joe Worrell is exactly what we need. And in terms of a smart signing, he would be with us in the Premier League. I think he's only, listen, I haven't checked his age, but he's probably 25, 26, something like that. So he's a great investment, but he can potentially grow in the Premier League. But also, if we're relegated, he's one of the sort of players like Trusty who will stay with us and we'll be part of a really strong Championship squad. They're the sort of players, we talked about the Victor Johanssons and or Mike Coopers. Build a team. Why don't we start now? Why don't we? Well, obviously, we're going to give it everything we can to stay up, but players that will stay with us in the Championship and give us a real go at getting back. Jimmy, you have every right to feel how you feel. It doesn't matter what other people do. Keep up the good work. Thank you, pal. Very much appreciated. It doesn't get to me half as much as it used to do. And to be honest, blocking people online that spread the hate and all that sort of stuff. And I've never had a problem with anybody having a different opinion. We've got a Ramblers chat. It must have 90 people in it at the minute. And people disagree with me in there, but it's always respectful. It's always, and it's just, what are you talking about, Jimmy? That is ridiculous. Or why are you doing this? There's never a bad word said, but you can completely disagree with my opinion. No problem at all. It's just when what the F does this guy think he's talking? Just don't watch, don't listen, don't agree, don't interact. Just that sort of negative nature. It's not what we're about. And blocking them sort of people out of the equation makes life so much easier. But thank you, Andrew. I appreciate your comments, mate. And you're all very welcome here. I hate to say it, but you were right about CW. Hopefully we're all right now, aren't we, in terms of all right being Blades? Because I think he's the man. He's the man to lead us forward. Hearing that Tom Davies is in the plans, while they mentioned him as a big future in a presser, could he possibly make a difference when fully fit? If so, who would he play instead of? Tricky one. I don't think he gets in the team for me last night, the starting 11. I think he makes our bench stronger. Tom Davies is a very good player when fit. And I think he's probably a bottom half Premier League player from what I've seen of him, which isn't an awful lot. I saw more of his early career when he was playing games. But unfortunately, some players just seem to be so injury prone. He's the midfield equivalent to Ryan Brewster, isn't he? Unfortunately. And I don't like comparing things like that. Made of glass. And it's absolutely gutting for the lad, for us as a club that have invested in him and want him to do well. But there is a good player in there. I don't think on last night's performance, I don't think he gets in front of Hamer, Sousa or Brooks at the moment. But he'll certainly push him because I think he'll probably replace Fleck and or Norwood in terms of being that man to be called upon and has every chance of keeping the shirt once he gets his way in. Mr. V, my only concern with Cameron Archer is his lack of pace. He was ahead of defenders 3 or 4 times, running at full tilt, got caught and dispossessed on 3 or 4 occasions. He's got to start shooting. You're right. I thought he looked sharp last night, but I think particularly over a bit of a distance, he's not the quickest, which is why I think he's more valuable higher up the pitch. But that's just my opinion. I'm not the one to question the Messiah. He had a lot of the ball last night, did Archer, and a lot of people were really pleased with his contributions. And I understand that, but I think he's more valuable higher up to us. Even if Steve, Brooks and Sousa look like they could be very important to us under Wilder. Brooks didn't look out of place at all, and Vinny looked a changed man. Completely agree. Tom Davies will probably be a rotational when he's back. I'd have to give him a guess. Absolutely. Better in all areas last night. Desire work rate, says Lee. At times threatening an attack. From my seat on the cop, we as a crowd were better, but quiet at times. I agree. We all have a role to play in this up the Blades. We'll get better, Lee. I think as more people start to buy into it and performances like that, it's hard not to buy into us again, into even the most staunch Wilder opposition. I think it's going to be tough for them to stay quiet for long when they're giving us so much to cheer about. Quality performance last night, says David. Hopefully get the 3 points on Saturday. Great show, mate. Though every one of them put in just wished Archer would have hit that with his left foot up the Blades. Absolutely right. Thank you, mate. Appreciate your kind words as well. Wes save against Salah, by the way. Yeah, fair play. I think he made a couple of very good saves last night. I've been critical of Wes. I think a couple of the oohs and ahs that came at him, the one volley that it might have been Van Dijk that was straight at him, and he pushed it off at bar, and everybody went, oh, what a save. But that was directly at him. But then there were others, like the Salah save, that were very good, and I can't say any other. When Archer scored against us off his left foot, he was flying and high on confidence. I'm sure after a few matches under Wilder, his confidence will return and he'll be shooting off any side. I agree, Lee, and I hope that is the case. Completely agree. Brooks looks a great prospect and could be exciting for the future, says John. Absolutely, mate. Very exciting, isn't it, to see. One thing that never lets us down as a club is our academy. We're not a Cat 1, but you could fool anybody with that, couldn't you? The talent that's come through our academy is unreal. To give ourselves any chance of staying up, we need to sign a Leon Clark or a David McGoldrick. Wilder to find a diamond. Fingers crossed. Could happen. That much improvement in one training session. Imagine what we'll be like on Saturday. It's great, isn't it? It's great to feel like we're back again. I don't mind seeing us lose if we play like we did against Liverpool because we put up a fight and fought for the shirt. That's all we ask. All we ask. Apart from the scoreline, I couldn't have asked for more. Very promising, but I don't want to get too excited just yet. That's fair, Arch. That's fair, pal. Up the blades. Up the blades. And Buemo got injured yesterday. They're already struggling with injuries. This is our chance. It's all coming up Wilder, isn't it? All coming up Wilder. You need to do an update squad. Who should stay? Who goes in January? It's coming, mate. Don't you worry. We've got a video plan for this. Like if Thomas Fleck and Larouche, likes of Thomas Fleck and Larouche, what about bash out of the 25, then bring Blaster back? Could significantly strengthen. We could definitely significantly strengthen. Good to see R&D training. Hopefully comes back close to the player who was before. I think he'd be a huge bonus for us. That he solves that left wing back problem for me. I always saw him as, and look, he might be a left back now. Excuse me, under Wilder, playing this new formation. But this is what we're talking about, being fluid and being able, because we could rock up against Brentford and play a 3-5-2. But we've now shown that we can flip between 4 at the back, 3 at the back, play different ways. Play the 3-5-2, play our beloved new Christmas tree. 'Tis the season and all that. But yeah, Reece Norrington-Davies. I always thought he was going to be an unbelievable left centre-back in the Jack O'Connell mould of being able to get up and down. But he plays so well at left wing-back as well. And hopefully now, maybe left-back if that's the way we choose to go. I think there's a few Rotherham fans in the chat with the amount of players they want to send to the Millers. Maybe so. They can have them if they're not in our plans. We don't mind helping Millers out if they're going to help us by improving our players. Don't know about you, mate, but I'm still looking for the wheels off my car. Them Scousers there. Them Scousers. Paul says we need McBurney in both boxes for corners alone. Awful defending from corners first half. I thought we did okay, to be honest, from corners. We obviously got caught out with one. But I thought we did okay in general. If Wes is banging every kick top left, yeah, we need McBurney up there, don't we? I don't think Asula was quite strong enough in terms of winning the aerial battles, but he was up against Van Dijk, to be fair. Martin Oliver was the VAR man. Thank you, Rob. Says it all, doesn't it? Absolutely says it all. Linked with Cashin, the Derby centre-back. We'll take him in a heartbeat. He was in our squad build at the beginning of the season, for those that have been with us a while. He was in our plans and on our shortlist for players that we should be looking at. I think he's a really good player. I'm not entirely sure we'll go for that, though, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong, because it's a Wilder type signing, plucking a really good young player from the lower leagues. Very Wilder. But do we need a left centre-back at the minute? We didn't even play with 3 at the back last night, but we've got Trusty, we've got Robinson. I would sign Erin Cashin every day of the week, and maybe even send him out on loan to the Championship if we're not going to include him this season. But we'll see. We'll see. Ollie Varpool, absolutely right. Neil says it was Stevie Wonder. Super impressed with Brooks. Think he should start every game. Absolutely right. Best thing blocking on YouTube. See the clown in their own comments, but you never do. Will drive them mad. I don't know. I think I've only blocked one on YouTube, and most of us know who that is. The absolute troll that is. But yeah, it's not something I do regularly. It's Twitter or X that does my head in. It's so negative, but so great for like keeping up to date with stuff as well. Hope Ecky gets the Sunderland job. Sound like he would be suited there. Yeah, I think I was surprised. They were a bit trigger happy with Mowbray, weren't they? They're doing well, aren't they? They're about 3 points away from playoffs. So hopefully, if he does get a look in there, he gets a little bit of time. We wish him well, don't we? It just weren't for him here. It fizzled out. I think Susan's Wilder's new burger. I wonder if he's going to take him on a trip around Sheffield in his Range Rover. Yeah, that was class, that video. I remember that. One problem with Archer, that game is he. Sorry, Sharon boys, I don't get it. Wes was super. Okay. Scotty, Archer does have a left foot. He scored a cracking goal against us for Borough. It'll be a confidence thing. Completely agree. Chris, Jimmy, if you're not doing anything after the game, come put my tree up. Hey, if you think I've had anything to do with this, you don't know me very well. Thank you if you like the look of it, but I can take no credit for it at all. That's Mrs. Ramble that's done that. Yeah, he used it to stand on, and that's about it. None of this Archer abuse in the chat. You should know me better than that by now. I think for the first goal was a foul on Robinson. To me, Van Dijk tripped him up. It looked like it on the replay, didn't it? But that's, it's gone now, hasn't it? I think we can just be proud of performance. We didn't really expect to beat Liverpool. A lot won't like this, but I would let Brewster go. He hasn't done a lot. He's made of glass, but I would want him. He's struggled, Anti, for fitness. We did play very well up the Blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, mate. And Andy finishes us off tonight because, as I say, I'm not going to keep us long. We're going to get off. But Bogle had a good game and extra points for the relacing boots. Why not? Yeah, he did do that, didn't he? So thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We are, of course, sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield, which I wanted to make sure I got in and completely forgot. So apologies to our friends, but they are a huge support to the channel. Thank you to everybody that supports us, whether that's through Patreon or through YouTube itself. We've got something very exciting coming up over the next couple of weeks, which will become obvious. And Ramblers will tell you that they are going to have significant involvement in that. So if you want to jump on that train, then you're more than welcome. If not, then hopefully it'll certainly provide good content for you at the very least. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the Blades! Ramble on! Gustavo Homer into the top